What's up?
Hey.
How's everybody doing today?
Hello, everybody.
Everybody, this is the BTS Podcast, and today we're going to talk about apparently me. But first, I want to say thanks to all the sponsors. I want to say thanks to ProCam. We appreciate you. Thanks to Rode and Rode Mics for stepping in and hooking us up.
Controller behind.
Yeah, we have the Rodecaster Pro 2. They really did a great job. They stepped up, and we look forward to seeing you guys at Demo Day if you guys happen to make it down. So yeah, let's kick off this podcast. And by the way, we have a cat running around and a dog. So if you hear a random meow or if you hear some stuff rustling around, that's just...
It's just sound effect.
It's just, sound design. We decided to throw
Sound
in there.
design.
So, everybody, this is my wife, Olya. She's hosting with us today.
Nice to meet you guys. Today I'm going to talk about this guy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about me today.
Videographer, cinematographer. And he's going to tell us about himself a little bit and about his experience.
Y'all ready for this?
We
All
are
right,
ready.
This is me. This is me, guys. I hope y'all love me at the end of this. I hope you really understand who I am, why I do this. And hopefully we inspire you to go ahead and do the same thing. That would be my ultimate goal. So yeah, be ready for this cat to make some noise because she's out like running around my dog right now, which is kind of funny.
So let's begin. Tell us, please, Philip, about yourself, about your childhood, where you have grew up. Tell us a little bit yourself.
If you're watching this, you know I just got coffee all over myself. But
I
if
just
you're just
made
listening,
really,
I
really
literally
delicious
just got coffee
coffee.
all over myself. All right. Yeah, so about me, where I came from and all this stuff. Well, let's see. I was a young lad, born there. I'm not going to say when I was born, but I was born in Long Island, New York. And raised in a pretty decent household. My father was around cameras and photography, so I had a little bit of exposure only by proxy, only by watching him do it. Never really got involved myself.
Did you have an experience at the time with
No,
camera?
nothing with cameras,
No?
and then just kind of moved on. Lived my adolescent life and younger years being crazy, riding bikes, having fun, as a kid does in Long Island. Moved to Florida when I was 15, 16, somewhere around here. Hated it. Moved up to Ohio.
You hated Florida?
Well, I hate where I was. Little town called Port Charlotte, Florida. And it's newlyweds and nearly dead. So there's just nothing there. And my parents got divorced when I was 10. So my father moved back up here to Cincinnati and Hamilton, Ohio, where he was born and raised. So at the age of... I bounced back and forth between Florida and Cincinnati. Went to school in both Florida and in Cincinnati and in Hamilton. I went to like 6 different high schools, never really stayed. And I wasn't high schoolable. I'm teachable, yes, but not high school because I need to be specific on what I'm studying, and I need to enjoy what I'm studying. So I skipped around high schools a lot, moved around a lot, never really got a niche of where I was or anything like this, and then finally landed here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Dropped out of school, went to University of Cincinnati, and then started working in architecture. I went to school for architecture. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was fun.
I
So nothing to
always
do with
dreamed
video
to
or
do
film
this.
or photo.
I'm not sure about that.
A lot to do with
because
creativity. Yeah.
Creativity, design. You just have started learning about all of that. And I think that every photographer, videographer, where you need to know all about composition, about light. And I think it helped.
Architecture school definitely helped with lighting, composition, and emotion, and coming up with a story behind that emotion, and storytelling. Because when we're defending our projects or stuff like this, we typically have a story and a something that it derived from, an emotion that it derived from that made you want to pursue this specific design. So that also helps now when I love documentary. And what I got from one of my professors was document everything. And when in architecture school, when you do an iteration or something like this, or you do something, you document everything you do. So this way you know where you came from, you know how it developed and how that idea moved forward. So I really, I guess, loved documenting things, I guess you could say. And I loved displaying ideas and concepts and showing that off and trying to prove it and sell people on it. So,
Do you remember any big projects which you have designed while you have been working in architecture firm?
None that I specifically designed. Some that I had a lot
Or
of
you participate.
had a lot of hand and a lot of say in the spatial design. The concept had already been developed by the head architect, and some of the spatial design, like, hey, this room doesn't work in this configuration, or this flow doesn't work because of fire department requirements or ADA requirements and color selection and material selection. Some of that was me, but as far as the grand scheme of everything, not so much my position. You're not really doing that unless you're like the head architect or
But
head
it's
designer.
more like a teamwork. So
It is. I appreciated it, but at the end of the day, I was just sitting around. By the way, if you see me looking over here, I am monitoring myself on Monitor Plus app. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and start that recording real quick and just go ahead and capture a little bit of screen. So I'm going to wave to this. Wave to the Monitor Plus app, because it's not watching.
Everywhere.
So anyways,
We just wave.
moving forward, I digress. Let me go ahead and cut this off. I don't want us to take up too much of that space. So a lot of that was teamwork, and you do work as a team. But I was, like I said, at the end of the day, just sitting around drawing lines on paper. Blueprints, everybody. If you guys know what blueprints are, I was what is known as a CAD junkie. I was really good at AutoCAD. I was a premier user of AutoCAD and an advanced user of AutoCAD.
I'm familiar with this. It's not easy.
But
It's
I loved it. It was like my language. I understood all of it, and I even knew I created my own shortcuts to make it faster. I was really in depth, making dynamic blocks and 3D blocks and stuff like this. So I was really good at AutoCAD. So being a CAD junkie was perfect for my position. But I got bored. I'm creative.
How you came up with the idea to create video production, to start actually record?
Well,
tell us a little bit your first experience when you had started.
Well, all right, my first experience like filming, man, if you really want to go way back, okay, we're going to go through a couple here, people. So I'm going to bring in my nice, sexy, deep voice, and we're going to talk a little bit of AST right now, so... Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I guess...
He was just testing this really, really good microphone.
Now that's the voice I think we want to... Rode, if you guys need somebody to do any vocal tests on your microphone...
No problem.
I'm just throwing that out there for you guys. She's got the voice. It's great. Love it. Hope you don't mind the Ukrainian... By the way, my wife... Everybody, she's from Ukraine. We'll get back to me in a second. I want to talk about you for a second. Just a second. Just a second. Guys, my wife, she's Ukrainian, and we are supporting, and a lot of money that proceeds that this show makes, a portion of it is going to United 24, Army of Drones, because I am a drone pilot, and we know that money is actually going to a good place, so I'm going to have to stop that.
Tell us about how you came up with an idea to start video production, and actually about your first experience with recording video.
Well, I guess we have to go way back. So I didn't really. I always thought I was going to be an architect. Even as like a 12-year-old boy, I thought I was going to be an architect. I remember sitting at a dinner table during some family gather. Anyways, so I guess my first happening with video and or photo. We'll start with photo because the first photo I took, let's go ahead and say my first camera ever was a Panasonic 110 camera that I got for my birthday or something like this. And
by the way, it's not sponsored by Panasonic.
By the way, this is definitely not sponsored by Panasonic. But if you want to, I really don't use your stuff. but I wouldn't mind it because you do make some pretty good product. And I'm looking at like all 3 cameras right now. I think I just need to focus on these 2 because these 2 are my camera. Anyway, so my first camera was that Panasonic. It was something I just got for my birthday. I used it maybe twice. It shot 110 film, and the first time I used it, I took it on. So I'm a Christian, and I was in a thing called Royal Rangers, and it's like a Christian Boy Scouts thing. It was cool. It was fun. I learned a lot of really cool like life skills and like camping and survival skills, so I can start a fire with a bow, and I can bow hunt
really
and throw
good.
a tomahawk, and I can survive and build a lean-to and all this. Anyways, so it was great. But we had an outing to go to. I think it was the USS Mississippi or something like this, if I'm not mistaken, and sleep overnight on it. And I took my first photo of a model of the US Mississippi in like a glass case, and that was my first photo. But like the first video, I guess I started making. We made a still life. So we had Legos and we posed them and took a picture, posed it, took a picture, posed it, took a picture, posed it, took a picture, and did that like repetitively all night. Me and my cousin Chris or something like this. And at the end of he came in from out of town. He's from Kentucky. They live not too far from here, and we put a little still life thing together. But my true first video that I put together, or video projects that I put together, was while I was in school in architecture. A friend of mine, Jeff, thank you very much, lent me a Canon to shoot on. Matter of fact, Canon was my first real DSLR camera. But he lent me his camera to shoot, and I did a project for a bar here in town, and I did a project for a fitness place that's a buddy of mine called Fit Next here in Cincinnati. So did a little thing for him. That was fun. I was like, oh, video's fun. And then put the camera down and focused on architecture again. And stayed with architecture until I was done with that and went into the working field. And then I was working. So what really turned everything.
Yeah, how you came up with an idea of working already in architecture.
So now, fast forward a whole bunch of years, I'm working in an architectural firm. I had already moved up to Columbus. I worked for a firm down here in Cincinnati. And now I'm up in Columbus working for this firm, and we're going out and doing surveys of buildings and inspections. And we were in Detroit, and we were about to go on this roof, and this roof was really sketchy. We should definitely not have been up there. And when I got back, I was like, hey, why don't we just get a drone? And as opposed to sending us up there to take photos, we could send a drone up there to take photos.
Yeah, especially it's safe.
Right, it's safe. Half the manpower. You don't have man hours. Like if you time, that's money, guys. So one person on a drone is a lot cheaper than 3 people possibly putting themselves in danger.
And the picture is totally different.
Yeah, and it's a lot cooler. And I can take awesome video. And what I really got into, which kind of paved the way a little bit, was getting into 3D modeling with drones using photogrammetry, another kind of dorky thing. But drones can make 3D models by stitching photos together and using pixels to judge distance and making basically the 3D models you see on Google. I can do that with a drone. And so can you, if you contact me, because I do teach.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I'll show you a couple of examples. We'll show some maybe on the YouTube. But yeah, so I got back and I was like, hey, let's get a drone. He was like, hey, that's a great idea. You be the pilot. I was like, that's awesome. I've got a lead on a drone. I can get one for really inexpensive. I got a Mavic Pro from a buddy of mine, his old drone.
How long did it take for you to learn from the scratch how to control drone? How much time did you
An hour?
spend? An hour?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually pretty easy.
The Mavics are really easy to get in the air, get it flying, move around. But to get good to the point where I started considering myself an aerial cinematographer, and there are people on that roof right there. Anyway, so it took me to see him. Right there in the corner. All right, so before we digress, before I actually was able to consider myself an aerial cinematographer, I would say I moved rather quickly, but maybe 4 months before, because I really dove into it, guys. Like I wasn't like a weekend warrior just going out on the weekends. I was flying like 3 hours a night for like 3 months straight. And on top of that, I had already listened to all the videos on getting my Part 107 license. I did get licensed right away. I listened to my Part 107 licensing for about 3 months.
Was it easy?
The test, no. It can be if you study. If you go in there thinking, hey, I'm just going to know a couple things, no. Because the charts will confuse you, understanding those and understanding the METARs and the TAF reports and the numbers and the distances. That's real simple because, that's basic stuff. That's stuff you're actually using on the daily for safety reasons, making sure you don't crash.
And he's teaching already.
Yeah, and I teach courses. We teach at ProCam. We also teach at a couple of other local photography shops, one up in Columbus, but the one here in Cincinnati that is sponsoring us.
So contact us if you want to learn.
Yeah, or look for the workshops that happen to appear on ProCam and you'll get a better price. But they don't happen very often. We'll keep you posted. We'll go and throw that in there. But they don't happen often, and you don't get the one-on-one service that you kind of do with me. And I'll actually take you out, get one-on-one, get you through the course, get you passed. Promise you'll pass. Just gotta do the work. Gotta put the work in. So
so you were practicing at night for a couple of months.
Well, not really at night because you couldn't fly at night at time, but after work. During the light hours and until 30 minutes after sunset and or before sunrise, I was flying. But now that law has changed, so now that you're actually allowed to fly at night without the waiver.
Do you still have any of that footage, like first?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have
it.
terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of footage.
I'm
back
sure
there.
it's totally different from the footage which you have right now, especially.
I should do a side by. Matter of fact, Phil,
like
in this video, if this video ever makes it, do a little side by side comparison of first video I did and then last video I just recently shot, which would be kind of funny to put that together. So we digress. But moving forward, now I had gotten this drone. I was in this architecture company. They had big dreams and aspirations to use the video work that I was doing with the drone now and some of my photography that I was starting to do and some of the stuff to start advertising and pitching and using this for some of their marketing material with their clients because like I said, they were doing large projects everywhere, but a lot in Columbus and a retail mixed use. You have residential up top and apartments up tops or condos up top and really nice stuff and or retail and shops and shopping underneath. So they had people and...
You were flying only outdoor at that time?
I was only flying outdoor at that time. I was only flying... I see where you're going with this, Mrs. Hurst. I fly FPV too, but we'll get there. So yeah, I was only flying outdoor at this time. But then while I was still working at the firm, I was asked to film a mountain bike race, which was the Mohican 100. And that was a really cool mountain bike race. And then there's another race, which was the Mohican 100, which is typically like a 35 to 32 hour race, and it's people who actually
with
run
a drone.
This is still before a drone, so I'm still using a GoPro and my phone at times. At that time,
you were riding and recording all of that?
I was running around with my phone and setting tripods up and a GoPro and stuff like this, going from because I had.
That's not easy.
Well, no, but kind of was because my buddy knew that park really well, so we would drive from we'd cut them off and we'd kind of get there before the leaders came through. So I was able to get to different locations and get the footage and everything like that. So that turned out really cool and do the interviews of the racers and film the whole event, like the party afterwards. So that was really cool and did a really cool edit. So I was like, oh, wow, I'm really liking now. Like I said, I'm out of college. I'm working in architecture.
Yeah.
I still didn't have my drone when I filmed that mountain bike thing. And then I got the drone. And then I was like, okay, I understand editing. I like filming. I have a drone. The drone just isn't for doing, mapping and architecture stuff. I can also use it as filming too and film really cool aerial stuff. It's a helicopter. It was
the first Mavic.
Yeah, the Mavic Pro was the first Mavic that came out. Yeah, and it replaced so many tools. It didn't replace, it adds to and also mimics other tools in the film industry, like a dolly, a jib, a crane, a helicopter, which is often used. I just have to add the helicopter sound effect if I want that.
So using drone is much cheaper.
Much cheaper than renting a helicopter. And nowadays you can strap a really good camera, get a dual operation system. One person's flying, one person's controlling the camera and gimbal. Heck, you could even have a tri or a quad operation system. One person's pulling focus, one person is controlling the gimbal, one person's flying the drone, one person's VO. You know what I mean? Like that's a big operation. Those are usually like your. I live in downtown, guys, and that's you hear the sirens outside. They're coming to get me. But I was now flying drones for the company. I'd shot this mountain bike thing, and I was just like, okay, cameras are kind of cool. Maybe I should actually go ahead and get my first DSLR camera. So I was like, okay, I want to maybe shoot some real estate. That's kind of cool. I want to shoot some cars. That's kind of cool. And I watched a couple of videos, and I'm looking like the bare minimum. I'm broke at the time, you know. I'm still kind of like making it, and you know, just thinking I'm not really happy in this job, and I want to invest into it. So bought a camera, bought a gimbal, had the drone, had my GoPro, had my iPhone. So I just started going out and shooting, and I was like, okay, I can make some money here. And at that time, I mentally started being done with architecture. Was still working in architecture, but I was like, okay, I'm making money.
So it was easy for you to leave the job?
Oh, without a doubt. Like I had sat in that desk for a good month and a half, 2 months, just kind of twiddling my thumbs, watching Peter McKinnon videos in the background, and like Matty Hapoya, and yeah, it was good times, and learning a lot about cameras and doing studying. And one day they pulled me in the office and they're like, "So, do you like it here anymore?" I'm like, not really.
And you like have screensaver on your screen, like I hate architecture.
I quit. Do you even like architecture? No, I really don't.
I love my job.
I love my job.
I hate
The best job I
architecture.
ever had. God. No, I did love architecture. I do love architecture. I still appreciate architecture. I love architecture very much. I just love capturing it and displaying it now and showing people how I see architecture via my edits. You know, like when I do.
Yeah, and I'm sure that it is. Right now, it's easy for you to capture all of that, like or something for real estate because you understand all specifics.
Correct. I feel I have a one-up on how architecture should be displayed compared to people who didn't go to school for architecture, if that makes sense.
Of course, it's totally different vision. So you went into video production.
Yeah, right before COVID.
Okay, tell us about this a
Right,
little bit.
so I went right.
It's not easy period to start totally new field when you don't have a lot of experience, like just some basics at
Correct.
that moment, especially when everything is closed.
Correct. So
Okay.
I always said that if during COVID you didn't better yourself, learn something, you failed COVID. Because all those people who are like, oh, I just don't have the time.
Oh,
I
you
just
have
don't
time
the
for everything. What is
obligations
really important for you.
and like priorities were ripped from you. You had no more places to go. You weren't allowed to go
And
anywhere.
You face the truth.
You had to face the
ugly
truth that you now have, that you were just lazy is what it actually was. So if you didn't do anything and if you didn't go after, you didn't learn anything during COVID, or you didn't grow, or you didn't start a business during COVID, it's not time, and the lack of time was nothing to do with it. You just didn't have the drive, the desire, the passion, and the dedication to go after it. You were lazy. So I went after it. I put all my time into it. I quit my job, and I was like, I had a contract with a local MLS soccer team to video some of their stuff in their new stadium that was being built. I had contracts with real estate agents. I had contracts with a couple of other things, and I had money coming in. I was good. I was like, all right, I'll make a business out of this. Started my LLC, and like a week after I started my LLC, the whole world shut down.
Have you been flying with a drone during COVID?
Yes. And most people are like, but you weren't. Yeah, I was. Because
you were licensed at that time.
I was licensed, yes. I quit the job, had the drone. The drone was mine. I paid off my half of the drone, so the drone was in my mind. We went half on the drone, so I paid off the other half and took it. But I also wanted to stay connected, so I did wind up getting a part-time job but with a college that I was their drone pilot, and I was teaching drones. So I literally, guys, I only learned drones like maybe 6, 7 months before, and I was out at a fashion show at Columbus Fashion Week, and I was flying, and a photographer was like, "Hey, would you want to teach drones?" And he just happened to be a teacher at this college and went out and taught drones. So had a little bit of income coming in, thankfully. But thankfully there was my real estate, which nobody was able to go to houses during COVID. So being a videographer and now able to travel because I was a teacher teaching videography and I was known as an essential media worker, I was able to actually be on the streets. I took that like, hey, go fly your drone in streets that you normally can't fly because you can't fly ever cars over people's heads or anything like this. So I literally flew all of downtown Columbus and it was eerie. There were no cars, no life, like middle of the day and everything is stopped.
It's like in a movie
It was like an
with
apocalypse.
Will Smith.
Yeah, like I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
It was post-apocalyptic, guys. It was post-epidemic is what it was.
Oh, we remember.
Anyway, so...
I remember that.
It was fun. Had that, and then, but I really dove into learning, and I dove into platforms to where I could learn. And one of those platforms, I went into it. Somebody told me like, yeah, you should join Clubhouse. So they invited me, and I went into Clubhouse only to listen to this room. It's called the Lullaby Club, where they would talk like this to make sure that nobody listening wakes up, and then people would like play their instruments from like their living room and sing. And it was actually really nice. It was cool. Like I would fall asleep to it and it would end and just everybody would turn off. But I started exploring more of Clubhouse and I looked up video and cinematography and I found a room called Videographers with 3 exclamation points. So by the way, if I respond back to something and I have 3 exclamation points, it's homage to that room. So yeah, I do 3 exclamation points. But in this room,
yeah, I remember that group of videographers. I've been listening all the time on the background.
And that's how we met, actually, guys.
Yeah.
So
that's the funny story. He started texting me, checking if I'm fake or not. And I was listening on the background. I was building my own business at that period.
Oh, a little bit about you. She's in production. She was building her business, and that's why she was there. We're both in videography, as you can see. We're both doing this.
Yeah,
So.
and I've been working really, really hard, like at least 18 hours per day. And because of time difference, I was listening everything at night, like at 4 a.m. or something like that, and I fall asleep. And then heard, I fell asleep with my headphones while I was working in front of my laptop, and I hear like, "Hey, Olga, come up, join us." And I'm like, was I talking when I was sleeping? I'm like, oh my God, and I'm just cancel.
No, but I was a moderator in the room, so it was my job to go through and there were a few moderators, but one was talking and leading conversation. I was in the background making sure people weren't trolls. They were of age. They had their bio filled out. They were actually legit. She's not a troll. In the flesh. So I was like, I opened her page and I was like, legit, my first words, I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah, baby.
I'm in trouble. But her page was well curated. It was interesting work, good photography. She was a model. She was working in production. She was putting on productions and doing stock photography and getting things together. And I was like, oh, I might want to work with her and see if she wants to do something. So
yeah, and we started discussing how to work together.
Well, I reached out to her. That's when everybody started. I was like, hey, oh yeah, come on up here. I asked her to join the stage and come on and talk to us, but she was already asleep at the time.
Yeah, and then
so I hit her in the DMs, hit him up in the DM.
Yeah, then we started talking, discussing our future projects, how we can work together, and we became really close friends.
I would say really close friends.
But we will tell.
I kept it super professional, but yeah, we'll tell this another time. Back to
another time, yes. And here's another question for you, Philip.
All right. Did we finish up the last question? No, I got into Clubhouse and then.
Yeah, tell us. Except me.
Okay.
With whom have you created some connections? Relationship, yes.
Yeah, guys.
Through the Clubhouse.
Clubhouse at the time was really good for developing relationships, especially this videographers group, because
it was a lot of people there.
Yes, there were a lot of people there, and reps from Rode were in there. I think even like not just reps, but actual people from Rode and Ceramonic. Sorry, not being biased, but Ceramonic and Sony were in there, and really big name cinematographers and people from production companies doing big things were in this group. And it was great to be talking with them, but a couple people would just be coming in there either looking to have questions answered or just to burn time while they're editing or something like this and hear the conversation. But a couple people would come in looking for, hey, I'm looking for a DP, hey, I'm looking for a gaffer, or I'm looking for a grip, or I'm looking for this, that, and the other, screenwriter, voiceover, anything.
To find,
great. Everybody was there and
collaborate.
willing to help. It was awesome. Well, one person came in looking for a drone pilot and a videographer. Now, in that room, guys,
Philip.
enter Philip. I was like the guy. If you're only listening, I'm doing air quotes right now. I was the drone guy, especially when it came to aerial cinematography, not just somebody who knows how to fly a drone, but somebody who understands the video part of it. So I started a great conversation with this gentleman, and this gentleman happens to work for a great company who's owned for an even awesomer company, and it's Ephesus Sports Lighting and Cooper Lighting. Ephesus Sports Lighting is the company that does the sports lighting aspect of Cooper Lighting's big lighting company. And Cooper Lighting owns companies like Neo Ray, Philips Lighting, obviously Ephesus Sports Lighting, and Ephesus Sports Lighting does installations of sports lighting and that dynamic LED, multicolor, flashy paparazzi. So I got into that company. He was looking for a drone pilot to go out to all these different locations all over the United States, and they do work all over the world. So maybe one day I'll make it out to Europe, but developed a great relationship. And here I am 2.5 years later, still their drone pilot and premier videographer. And I'm doing work with Cooper now too, which is kind of cool. They sent us out to New York over the summer to get some stuff. Neo Ray, shout out to you.
What do you find inspiring in video production? What inspires you?
Telling stories, capturing things, documenting it
Through the video, through the shots?
through video, through photo if you have to, iPhone video if you have to. I don't care what you capture it on, just capture it. ABC, always be capturing. Live by that. Document everything.
Use it later.
Figure it out. Just document
just
it.
delete it
Just
if you
document it. A
don't.
little bit of editing, a little post-production, fix it up. As long as you get the story. Put it this way. I'd rather you catch the story than miss the story because you're not shooting on a Red, or you're not shooting on a Sony, or you're not shooting on your Fuji, or you're not shooting on this. Get the fucking story. I don't care. Capture it. Pull out your audio. I've pulled out my phone and put the voice thing just to capture separate audio, like to use what you have on you. So I don't know if that was. I don't even remember the question, but that one really excited me. What was the question?
I was asking what inspired you.
Oh, what inspired me? Just getting the shot.
Maybe there are some producers or directors
People-
who inspire you. Some
just-
people.
Nobody that inspires me. A lot of people that I don't mind emulating, and I don't want to say imitating, but getting bits of inspiration from. Even in architecture, I wasn't the guy that knew all the architects. I wasn't the guy that knew all the architectural periods and styles. I saw something, I liked it. I took parts of it and implemented it as a new thing of my own. And I kind of do that in film. Like, I appreciate, Michael Bay. I appreciate, Alfred Hitchcock. I appreciate Steven Spielberg. I appreciate, and Alfred Hitchcock and Steven Spielberg, both for very similar things. As a matter of fact,
Which movies of Steven Spielberg?
Jaws.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. That was my defining. That wasn't my defining
Sharky?
moment. Sharky. I have a shark that I got from the Newport Aquarium, and now
In the car.
in our car, and
Yeah,
it's our co-pilot. It sits on my dashboard. It's got an acorn in his mouth. Don't ask why, but it's got an acorn in its mouth, and So she brought that to my attention when I said, "Yeah, I love Jaws." She's like, it makes sense that you have a shark on this thing. And I was like, but I got it for Sharky Sharkerson. So I really like Steven Spielberg, but I watched a biography or a documentary on him and learned some pretty interesting things from his life before that. And I was just like, oh wow, okay, I appreciate
he had a
Optimus
tough
Prime.
life.
Yeah, and he didn't give up. So
What would you ask him if you would have a chance like tomorrow to meet him? What
oh
would you
gosh,
ask?
what kept you pushing forward? He failed a lot, guys. I don't know if you guys know much about Steven Spielberg. If you're watching this, you probably know a little bit about film, therefore probably know a little bit about Steven Spielberg. But many of his films before Jaws,
That's how you actually trying.
you
You're
learn,
trying,
you
trying,
find your
you're
niche, you find
learning.
your thing, you find your thing, and finally somebody was just like, yeah, I like your style.
For instance,
Shoot this for me,
everybody
please.
knows about Thomas Edison. How
Oh, God.
many, like more than 1,000 tries? And he said that at least I know 1,000 ways
Not to do something like this,
which
right?
are not working.
Yeah, exactly. So how many times did we shoot this podcast, babe? No,
not talk about
let's
it.
not talk about that. No, we've had a crazy week, so we've tried to shoot it
Yeah.
at night. We've tried to shoot it like coming home from another project, like just off a whim, and we're like, you know what? Let's just stop, shoot this during the day when we're both wide awake.
Oh yeah,
we're-
we needed to chill
and
a
have
little
a breakfast and set up. So now we're shooting this.
So
So
I
anyways.
have one more interesting question
Okay.
for you.
Mhm.
If you would have a chance to go back in time to the period where you just have started to do video production, which kind of advice you would give to yourself?
Well, I guess that goes back to the same kind of question I would ask Steven Spielberg. Like, what kept you going? And I would go back and tell myself, I would be like, don't worry about it. Just keep pushing. You know, there were times where I got real discouraged, almost gave up. There were times where it felt like fate was pushing me to give up, or the forces that be were like, yeah, this isn't going to work for you. You have to do this as opposed to this. Like, at one point, I had to get rid of all my equipment to do some things, and there was a time where I had to rebuild everything again, and it's just like, okay, I didn't give up. And, you know,
Yeah, you always have an option to give up.
always.
Always.
But I guess, you know, like I said, I would go back and
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell myself, because I kept going. I know better than to give up. Phil doesn't give up. Joey doesn't share food. Phil doesn't give up. That's one. I might not be the best at what I do, but you will never outwork me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm relentless as fuck. That's how I got hurt. I don't give up. So yeah, I guess I just, you know, I probably just high five myself, and I just spit on my wife's face. I probably high five myself.
You didn't, but
No, okay, I thought I did. I saw it come out.
oh my god.
I would high five myself, and just say, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Don't worry about it. Even in those discouraging moments when you think your world's going to fall apart and you're not getting the projects that you're seeing everybody else get on Instagram, or you're seeing people that you taught what to do now doing things that you're wanting to do. It's just like, you know what? Live in that abundant mindset. Like, you're going to be fine. Things are going to be fine. Projects going to be fine. Gary Vee said it best. You don't, what was it? You don't have the tallest building by tearing other people's buildings down. You just build the tallest building. And if somebody builds a taller building, you just build yours taller. Don't tear theirs down, right? It's a simple concept, and that comes from, there's plenty out there for everybody. I'd rather help you build, but guarantee I'm always going to try to build the tallest tower. So
I
don't
love
give
your
up.
response.
Build the tallest tower you can. Keep building. Always grow. Lift other people up at the same time. But it's not a competition, guys. The only competition is yourself. If you stop building, the only person that beat you was yourself, right?
You should compete only with yourself
Right.
from yesterday.
Yeah. Or 2 seconds ago, because I'm doing better than I was 2 seconds ago. Because watch this. Yeah, I totally just did that on camera. I just kissed my wife because I love her. And thank you very much for hosting with me today.
Mr. Hurst.
That's awesome. You got any more questions for me?
No, not today, but I think that we will come up with a lot of different stories from the next podcast.
Yeah. ProCam, Rode, once again, thank you guys for joining us. But hold on.
Your equipment is awesome.
Yeah, my wife asked, Phil, why isn't this sitting next to us so that you can do stuff like this? There it is. I got it.
I think this is perfect end of our podcast.
Woo! All right, guys. I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right, now for a little ASTM. You guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. And I want you all to know from the bottom of my heart. Go out and make shit.
Bye.
Knocking shit over.